Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're the Owatonna School Board. It's Monday, September 23rd, 5:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And Eric, our attendance tonight?
That's perfect. Everyone's here.
That's great. Let's start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up tonight would be to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 4 tonight is mission moment. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, tonight is a special moment because we are honoring Owatonna High School students that performed at a high level at our spring sports state championships, resulting in 6 state champions from Owatonna High School this past spring.
Wow.
I first want to bring up, we have 3 members. We have 3 members of our 4x200 relay team. And if Nolan and Luke could come up first, and then Seth, I'll reserve you, just hang on a bit, okay? The boys track 4x200 relay team members were Nolan Ginsky and Luke Weber. Both are here tonight as juniors. It also included Garrett Karsten and Keenan Larson, who graduated last June from Owatonna High School. Their Class 3A championship time was 1 minute, 26.52 seconds. Earlier in the season, the relay team set a school record, a Big 9 conference record, and is tied for the fastest time ever in the state of Minnesota. I would like to recognize these 2, along with Garrett and Keenan, for inspiring excellence in the track and field. So I'm going to call Seth up in a minute, but let's give these 2 a round of applause. As a former track and field coach, when I go to the state track meet, the more silver and blue I see at a state track meet, the bigger my heart grows. So, gentlemen, you did us proud. Thank you so much. Board members, any questions for these 2?
Okay, the 1 minute was for the total 200?
126.52?
126, that was.
It's a total of 800 meters.
Yeah.
So four members run 200
126.
meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It is amazing.
Fast.
Did I understand from Coach Stelter that there was like 2 seconds of daylight between you and the second play? There is, wasn't there?
Yeah, we won pretty handily. Yeah.
Amazing.
Love that even better.
And do you have 2 recruits incoming or
For this
joint
spring.
members that are going to join you?
We're working on it.
Okay, good.
Gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our next state champion I'd like to bring up is Seth Johnson. Seth, competing as a junior last year, won the 110-meter high hurdles with a time of 13.98 seconds. He also placed 5th in the 300 high hurdles at state. Again, I don't know that Seth, I would look at you and honestly, when you walked into the blocks there, did you go, I'm going to win this thing today?
I don't know.
Anyway, Seth, we're really proud of you and your performance at state. You peaked at just the right time. But again, let's a round of applause, I think,
Yeah,
for Seth.
absolutely.
Questions?
Going to do it again this year?
Goal.
2-time would be great. Again, thank you so much, Seth. We're proud of you.
Good for you, Seth. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Carmen Jurley was competing in the Class AAA Girls Golf State Tournament as a sophomore. And she won, and she was our state champion. She shot a 142, which is 2 under par in the 2-day competition, beating the second place finisher by 1 stroke. I just have to ask you, Carmen, when you sunk the putt on 18 or whatever hole you finished on, did you go jump in a lake at Bunker Hills, or was it?
I actually didn't know that I won at that point because the other girls saw them.
She was still playing behind you. Oh my gosh, even more nerve-wracking. So, Carmen, we're so proud of you and your accomplishments. You've got 2 years ahead of you here to play in the golf tournament. My guess is you put in a lot of rounds this summer as well. But Carmen, congratulations. Any questions for Carmen? before she-
She does not want any questions, and we will respect that.
All right.
We will respect that.
I am just so proud of all of our students, but certainly these student athletes. Not only do they perform and inspire excellence at a state meet, but they are great students as well. And they represent Owatonna very well when they leave here because they're under their best behavior and they just represent us so well. I'm so proud of them. Congratulations to each of you, to your coaches, and thank you to your parents. There's been a lot of early mornings and late nights, and especially thinking through, I'm looking back at Carmen's parents with golf game, and sometimes the golf matches don't go as well as you actually wanted it to. And so there's probably some therapy that happens at times with that. But again, thank you to our parents, certainly to our athletes, and to your coaches for inspiring excellence for every learner every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5 tonight is public forum. We do have a card. We'd take any more cards if they happen to come in belatedly. But first up would be Maria Olinger. Ms. Olinger, if you would come up, please, and if you wouldn't mind sharing your name, and if you wouldn't mind taking a seat there. We have a 3-minute timer. The floor is yours.
Sounds good. Is my audio okay? All right. Hi. I'm Marie Olinger, and I'm here on behalf of Open Owatonna. That's Owatonna's Partnering for Education Integrity. Last year in the 2022 school board campaign, we distributed questionnaires to all 11 candidates. Happy to say all 11 responded. And we provided, I think, a critical public service to the community and providing more informed information to our voters about some specific questions and areas of concern for them. This year, we've repeated that again. We've received 5 responses of the 8 candidates, and we hope that we receive responses from all of them. And again, we're receiving feedback that this information is important and valuable to our community. So we appreciate your support in helping us complete that service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Item 6 tonight would be just for general information, and the first of which would be the enrollment report. Did any of you have any questions for Mr. Elstad with regard to what you found in the enrollment report?
Just glad to see no red.
No reds.
No hot spots.
And the second would be the item B, which would be the City of Owatonna tax increment financing, and that's a public hearing. I'll ask Mr. Elstad if he would just give us a quick overview and update on that.
Yeah, thank you. We received notification from the City of Owatonna that there is a proposed project which is requesting TIF funding, and it is for a parcel of property. I need to find my note here real quick. Pardon me, I should have had it pulled up. It's a 74 rental housing units to be located at Hillcrest Avenue Southeast. Again, this is a request. There's a public hearing, and then this will go before the City Council. Generally, when that comes around, it doesn't necessarily require any approval from the board, but just as a notification that the financing company on behalf of the new owner has applied for TIF funding.
Yeah, and realistically, as my best recollection is that to the extent that there are any questions that we have on behalf of the board, we direct them to Eric, and Eric, as the clerk, then passes that information back on to the city.
And Jeff, as you reminded us, there's really no action we take.
There's no
a
action
notice
by
and
the board.
comment.
It's just, and again, this is voted on by the City Council, and they have the right to
Yep.
utilize tax increment funding for projects like this, so.
Any questions?
Maybe just one quick, so I did take a look at, it's a 20-year TIF, right? Is that what you understood?
I'll look at the schedule, can be a bit different, if I'm not mistaken, with this
yeah.
particular request. It looks like it is a 25-year, it goes out through FY 2052.
Yeah,
That's a long time,
It
boy.
is.
But anyway, that's the request.
but a relatively small number of dollars.
Yes.
I saw over a
Yep, that's-
25-year
that's
period. I
correct.
thought, wow, this is not
Yeah.
a.
Yes, that's correct. And again, as we have looked, there are some TIF projects that were done a number of years back that are now coming off and being taken away. So it improves, it offers an opportunity for the community to continue to grow and improve.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none, let's move on. Item 7 tonight, all of these are simply discussion items. First would be board forum. Deborah, if you don't mind, I'll start down on your end if we can. Anything for board forum?
Not really. We had a facilities meeting, but you're going to
I'll give
cover
you the
that,
update.
so.
Sure.
Nothing.
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Finance met last week, and then policy also met last week. And so busy working on things, and we have policies coming up for first and second reading tonight, and some update on some financial information.
Lori?
Nothing further. Yep.
Okay. We're on board forum, and I'm going to give a very quick update as to the facilities meeting we had just before this meeting. There are a couple of things going on, and the first of which, there was an update from Kraus Anderson. The work being done on the new district office, which is the old high school, there's a small remaining number of items that are left on the punch list. The brick exterior of the building has been done. Most of the parking lot has been paved, and landscaping should start this week. That would include sod as well as some temporary irrigation to make sure that that sod survives. The ag building should be finished by the end of this month, and the move from the existing location on Rose Street would happen probably on the week of the October 14th. There's also a shed. It's a 40 by 80 foot shed that would be on the west side of the football stands. Quotes are due this week with regard to costs or bids on all of that. The groundwork should be done before the ground freezes this year. We as a board will approve all of those bids at our meeting on the 15th of October. We'll have a very quick business meeting before our work session that night. The anticipated completion would be in January, and there is some concrete and paving work that would be done after that building gets put up in that parking lot in the spring of 2025. That would be home for 12 vehicles at that location. Wold has a couple of punch list items with regard to the existing, the new district office. When we reconvene in October for our work session, we will hear from Lori Voles and Superintendent Elstad, and they will give us an idea with regard to a game plan and an approach for the old district office over on Bridge Street. And and Lori will explain all of this in much greater detail in October, but understandably, all of the proceeds from that, it doesn't follow a straight line. It doesn't just go to one thing. There's a number of very specific legal precedents with regard to what happens to the proceeds of that. Lori will give us a complete update on that. Rose Street, we will probably embark on a similar process, and we'll do that right after the first of the year. We'll probably be making some decisions on Rose Street early in the springtime. So that is a very quick update for all of you on facilities. In addition to that, I have a couple of other things. The homecoming float, which is going to be next week, or let me rephrase, not the homecoming float, but rather school board representation in the homecoming parade. I have Tim and I have Eric that you're about due, or you've kind of up in the rotation, so I'm just double checking with both of you to make sure you're okay with that. You have a healthy candy allowance.
You go to Costco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Homecoming workers are asking for truck drivers. So any of you that would be willing, and I don't think you even have to have a truck. I think they'll provide the truck. I'm Owatonna. I wouldn't.
Can't now. I'm
Yeah.
in
do
the
it.
parade.
Yeah.
You want me to reach out to someone?
If that's the case, then I will forward the request on to you. A quick reminder that our work session in October, which normally would be Monday, is going to be on Tuesday. And because it's the same night that City Council meets, we'll meet at the district office in the new big conference room, main level. Enter on Grove Street. Lastly, Deborah, Tim, and I had an in-school visit at Lincoln today. It was great. I was just really kind of taken in by everything. It's really quiet. Did you guys notice that? It's just really quiet. And there was a real sense of calm in the school. It was great. Justin Lang, who is in his first new year as the principal at Lincoln, shared with us a fair amount about the READ Act and how much energy and effort is going into the READ Act and how the teachers are prepping for that. It was fun to hear about that. And we're Owatonnans and we're a bunch of homers, but boy, there's a lot of teachers in Lincoln that are OHS graduates. It's kind of fun to see. In any
One
case.
entire hallway.
Yeah.
All Owatonna High School graduates, yeah.
Are they still using the pods out there for
They
anything?
do.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay.
And it's not used for classroom space, basically just for some overflow music instruction and storage. Yeah. So that's my update. Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you.
You covered everything there. So that was awesome. Only thing I got is we got, 10, 11 days till homecoming. Woo-woo!
Yeah. Elizabeth.
Just a fun thing to think about. I was reading online about some of the school ratings or the district ratings in the country. Came across a couple that I'd never heard of before. One of them was schooldigger.com and the other one was niche.com. And I thought, right now we're in the ranking, Owatonna is, but I think it'd be fun, it'd be maybe a good goal at some point to say, hey, do you think Owatonna could be in the top 25 in the nation? Maybe start with the top 100, or, just kind of have something like that that we could reach for. So just a thought. I thought it was interesting. And along those lines, there is an award for the National Blue Ribbon School Award. And there's certain criteria that schools have to meet to get that award. And I thought, maybe that's something that we could move toward. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Cool. Aaron.
Robotics is packing up the robot tonight at 7, and then we are leaving at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow to a entrepreneurial event where we're going to present our robot, which is going to be cool. I'm really excited. So
Where is that?
I think it's in Albert Lee, I believe. I could be wrong. I also, this kind of through the school, it's kind of connected, it's kind of not. I'm sponsored for a Rotary trip to Camp Enterprise, which I'm super excited for. So it's about business ethics and all of that stuff. So I'm super excited to spend my time there. That's at the end of October, going a little bit into November. And then the JV and varsity soccer games are today. So thought I would mention that as well.
Thank you. Ayub, how's cross country going?
Pretty good. We had a cross-country meet this Saturday, or last Saturday, and the JV team got second, which is pretty nice. Regarding OHS, as of this week, Homecoming Queen and King voting was released to the student body, and 2 weeks ago we had our back-to-school pep fest. We had tug of war with the teachers, a lot of fun events, and additionally, as Mark Sebring mentioned, we have homecoming next week with a large number of events currently planned to take place.
Ayub, thanks. That takes care of the board forum, at least item number 1, which would be the school board meeting reports. Item 2, the school board work session report. There was a note in your packet that just gave a quick summary as to the that work session that we had over at the district office. Any questions or thoughts? It was pretty cryptic. It was pretty straightforward. Item 3, policy revisions. There are a couple of items for policy revisions, and if policy is here, it appeared to me that there were, the first and the third of those 3 policies, there wasn't a lot, but there was, in the second policy revision, there was a pretty fair amount of stuff in that one.
Yeah, I can maybe comment, and then Mr. Elstead or whomever. I would say it looks like more than it is.
Okay.
Okay, it really is a reiteration of a student's right to First Amendment rights. And then the other substantive change, I would say, which is, again, just a clarification, is a recognition that student speech is no longer just in publication form, it's also in media. So the overarching theme and change of vocabulary from publication to media recognizes that sometimes speech.
It's in electronic format.
Correct. Aside from that, I don't know, Mr. Elstead, if there's anything else you would comment.
No,
Those
I
are what I
think
took
your
away.
reference just to expanding the reach for First Amendment for students and student publications. There are some very clear guidelines around material. It can't be detrimental. It has to make sure it's not causing some sort of material disruption in the school. But again, we have always had, especially the OHS Magnet, has always had a very close relationship with admins so that they discuss those, but we don't censor what they're doing unless we felt it would cause some sort of disruption to the student day.
Any questions with regard to the policy revisions?
And again, these are just to
First reading.
clarify, these are first readings, so we'll take them up again at the next business meeting.
Very good. Hearing none, let's move on. Item B, also in your report was the administrative report. Mr. Elstad.
Yeah, I just want to go through a couple of things, and I did share some things with you, but I wanted to reiterate a couple of things that have come to light. I don't know that I have explained fully that we were a member of Schools for Equity and Education, which of course is seeking tax equity for our school district. That has now changed names, so the acronym changed. So it's no longer SEE, it is now SAFF, which is Schools Advocating for Fair Funding, with the primary mission and focus being on finding tax equity for districts like Owatonna that are considered quote-unquote property poor, and that the taxpayers are paying more of their share than they would in other districts across the state. The message really goes back to something you've heard me say hundreds of times, which is the zip code of where your children attend should not, it shouldn't matter. We should have equity there so that our community gets the same state aid that other districts do, and that we don't put that burden on our taxpayers. I will be advocating, and I will also be, I'm sure, to provide testimonial again at this next session. I was at a recent meeting with Riverland Community College. I had a chance to meet with Chancellor Olson, who's the new chancellor for the MNSCU system. They were advocating, and I was there advocating for the Owatonna campus as they placed their demands on the biennial budget for the Minnesota State College and University system. We want to continue to provide opportunities for students in Owatonna, and I was advocating that they consider making the Owatonna campus providing more and more programming, and that maybe they forego some of the red tape that's involved with that so that we can move our Career Pathways program forward in a quicker way. Next Monday, by the way, is the first candidate forums for school board. Just wanted to put that on your radar. I believe it's a 12 o'clock start at the Country Club. And then this Friday, and this is a request, I have my first a coffee and conversation in the district office in room 203. If there are 2 board members that would be willing to attend Friday morning, and I believe the time is at, pardon me while I look this up. That time is at 8:30 to 9:30 on Friday morning.
I can do that.
Okay, Lori, is there another member that would be willing?
If you trust me, I'll do it this time.
Deborah, you are an elected board member, and I trust you. Yeah. So anyway, so if you wouldn't be willing, that would say at 8:30 a.m. again at the district office in room D203. As was mentioned before, homecoming week is coming up. Thank you. We have kind of a rotation of board members that are riding in the homecoming parade, so thank you for your willingness to do that. And then lastly, I probably would like to spend a little bit more time on this, but I'll be brief because I know none of you ever want to get credit. Being a school board member is not an easy task. And you are faced with decisions, and you are representing 5,000 students that attend, and also their families, and also answering to a constituency. It's not easy work. And it is School Board Recognition Week, Recognition Month. And I want to publicly thank you as a superintendent, but also as a constituent, about how you serve this community well, and that every interest that you bring up, every topic, every discussion, always ends with what is best for our students. And I want to thank you for that, and I want to lift you up, and I myself will give you a round of applause. If others in the crowd want to join me, they can so choose, but thank you for that. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. That's very nice. Item 7 tonight, there are a couple of items that are up for discussion. Oh, hang on. I'm looking at the wrong. I've got my my sheets overlapped. Item 8, thank you. Consent agenda. Quick reminder, we are approving the minutes from the August 26th meeting, the disbursement and personnel reports. Anybody have a reason to pull anything out? We can vote on separately. We'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Eric, if you would, please.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Jelaine, right?
Yep.
All right. And myself's an aye, 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Almost forgot Joe Lane. You would have heard about that later. Item 9, a couple of items that require board action. Item A would be the policy revisions. This is the second reading. Spent a little bit of time talking about this at our last meeting, consideration for approval. Let's start, let's do this. Let's entertain a motion to approve.
I move that the board approve the revisions to the policies as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's open it up for discussion. Any questions, any further conversation relative to the policy revisions in this section?
I guess I would like to clarify just a few things from policy 616. So I'm going to bring that up. Okay, so Roman numeral 4, letter A, school district. Let me just go there. And then number 1, it talks about goals, broad goals reviewed annually and approved, and annual goals based on the recommendations of the District Curriculum Advisory Committee. So that's just one I wanted to clarify, that those goals, so that I'm understanding what those goals are. Is it the CACR, that being part of our goals? I guess maybe just if somebody could clarify that for me.
I'd be happy to clarify. So what you reference are absolutely the goals, because what used to be World's Best Workforce, and I'm going to always get this wrong until I get the acronym right, the new CACR report, that will indeed be something that the board would be considering for approval, which would constitute the goals of the board in the areas that are called out. So academic achievement, attendance, ready for kindergarten, those sorts of things. Got it. Okay. And then number 2, I'm just wondering, there's a lot of reference to the District Curriculum Advisory Committee, and I'm just clarifying that is coming, the information is coming by way of the Director of Teaching and Learning, because I was trying to remember if we have ever had just a specific presentation from the DCAC, but I think it's just been the director sharing information with us, and that's from the committee, right? Correct, yeah. So the District Director of Teaching and Learning, has always been the liaison between the DCAC and the board. And so as presentations go on, any feedback that's received would come forward in a report from her. Got it. And then lastly, under, let's see, same Roman numeral 4, letter C. And then number 2, school board shall annually review and determine if student achievement levels at each school site meet federal expectations. So there again, I think things are wrapped into that CACR, but I just wanted to verify that is what that is included. Yeah, so one of the things we've always put out a written report in regards to the guidelines, or what's referenced here as the federal expectations. We actually follow state expectations, which are guided through the No Child Left Behind legislation. But within that, so when we meet in November and there's a data retreat, that's an extension of that to offer up scores and things like that as a composite. One of the things I want to call and do just as we look at our MCA data is that we're careful not to use MCAs as the only marker, and I'll give you one specific example. Last year's high school, within that, there were, in our math score, which didn't look good, only 37% of our high school students took that test. The rest abstained from the test. I believe, my opinion is that's a flaw in the system because the other 63%, as it were, are marked as a 0. And I think that's unfair. So that's why we like to use MCA scores in conjunction with other district tests so that we can perhaps find a better marker of success. Okay. And then one last thing on that policy is just the advisory committee members was taken out of the policy. So I just thought, should that be defined anywhere in the policy where it says how are the committee members chosen and how that process works? Yeah, so you're referencing, I think it's Roman numeral 4.
It's the
I think it's
same.
for item D.
4D4.
Or D4.
4E.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. That is actually referenced in policy 603, where they lay out the constitution of the district. One of the things that this language was, again, we're trying to align practice and policy together. One of the things we run into is that we're not always able to achieve. And again, there's exceptional language on here that talks about when, to the extent possible. Same language exists in 603, but it was a redundant piece based upon we had previous policy.
Sure, makes sense. All right, that's all I had on that one.
Any questions on any other policies?
No questions, but I just wanted to make state an observation, maybe. The internet policy 524, I think it's well done. But one thing I noticed is that there's some very specific requirements for internet use for our kids in the schools, meaning no obscenity, nothing sexually explicit, no explicit language. But what I noticed was that we still have some of those books in our school library. So, it's an observation. Our library policy doesn't specifically state those things. So maybe it's something in the future that we need to talk about.
Alignment.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's
Duly
all
noted.
I have.
Anybody else? Any other questions relative to these policies? Very good. Hearing none. We've had the motion and the second. All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item B tonight, and Lori Voles is here. I'll ask her to come up and take a seat at the podium. Item B is the preliminary tax levy certification. A lot of moving parts with this, a lot of information to digest, and Lori is going to do just a very high-level description and overview of what this tax levy certification is all about.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Elstad, for your consideration would be approval of the proposed 24 pay 25 levy. Just to explain a little bit, this is the first step in the levy process. By September 30th, by legislation, the board has to approve the proposed levy, and then we will come again in December to approve the final levy. And so this is step one in this process. And just to emphasize, these are for taxes payable in 2025, and those revenues flow into next fiscal year, which would be the 2025-2026 school year. That is the timing of the funding process. And so in your board packet, you will see the actual levy document, as well as a tax impact chart and another comparative data piece. And just to hit the highlights here, overall, our levy is going up by 4.99%. And just to make a comparison to previous years, last year our school levy increased by 1.75%, and the year before that was 5.94%. And so I want to emphasize the levy formulas are preset by the legislature. And so that data set is, a lot of it is predetermined, how the aid and levy split. With these formulas that are set by the legislature, is predetermined what portion of the revenue is going to be in state aid and what portion will come in local levy. And so just as a reminder, that's how that piece works. Now, to compare our levy increase to other local public entities, the city of Owatonna right now is looking at an approximate increase of 8%, and Steele County property taxes are looking at a potential 3.1%, and just kind of give a reference point. Now, our overall levy increase is, as I mentioned, due to levy formula set by the legislature, as well as school board approved maintenance projects that would be financed with a bond issuance. Now, this was a unique plan. You may recall from previous board meetings, the issuance of the LTFM bond, we were able to do this because there is a tax law change, and we had kind of a one-year window of opportunity to issue that LTFM bond and still have a reduction in property taxes for most of our property owners. And so it's a kind of unique timing, but that is some really good news. And just like I'm just trying to kind of hit the highlights here, but it is, again, due to the property tax structure, it has brought some property tax relief, as well as we have an increase in our tax base. So because our tax base increased, and we had a comment earlier on TIF, we had some TIF property that has completed that cycle, and they're coming on to that tax base. So overall, is good news. So when I say that, like for example, residential homestead property is going to see a decrease on the school tax portion, I want to emphasize that's if their property value stayed the same as last year. And so it's really a unique situation this year that even though we're having an increase in our local levy, the local property tax impact is going down for most people.
Any questions?
Actually, Lori, can you clarify again for me the approval at maximum and what that means?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. So yes, I am recommending that the board approve the levy with the phrase at maximum. And that's also what MDE recommends, that school boards, how they approve it. And the reason for that is the Minnesota Department of Education may continue to make very small corrections, I'll say, to the levy. At this point, I have reviewed ours, and it looks very, very accurate at this point. There's also always a chance between now, when the board approves a levy, because our board meeting is not on September 30th, but between now, September 23rd through September 30th, there's always a chance a small correction could come in on the levy, and MDE recommends the board approve at maximum, so those small corrections flow through to that final version that will come through on December's levy. That will come again and show you the new final grand total.
And then maybe just a comment, both Elizabeth and I had an opportunity to visit more extensively with Lori at our finance committee meeting, so we heard much of this and more. So thank you for your work. It's a complicated area of our work.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, questions? Would one of you be kind enough to introduce this motion?
I move that the board certify a preliminary levy in the maximum amount provided by law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item C tonight is assurance of compliance report. And Mr. Elstad is going to give us a quick reminder what that's all about.
Thank you. This is an annual piece that the board has to approve. Basically, it's just assuring that we are compliant with all state and federal laws and we prohibit discrimination. It also discusses mandated reporting, that we won't provide any, or excuse me, that districts provide written assurance. About July, you dedicated the superintendent as the person to complete these assurance of compliance reports. This is now actualizing that so that we can send those appropriate AOC reports to the Department of Education.
Anybody have any questions? One of you happen to have it?
I move that the board approve the assurance of compliance report and that the superintendent or his designee sign and submit it on behalf of the district.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Oh no, we have one more thing. Gifts to the district. Mr. Elstad.
Yeah, you'll notice tonight it is definitely homecoming season. The number of gifts that provided by our local businesses and individuals in our community We pray for good weather because the parade is quite a spectacle, but requires some funds and allows our kids to do some things. It's a great community event, and I think certainly our businesses and individual donors see that. So just very grateful to those folks that contribute to the homecoming festivities every year so that our students can enjoy themselves and have a great homecoming week.
One of you happen to have that queued up?
I move that the board approve the resolution for acceptance of gifts as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eric, if you would, roll call vote.
Elizabeth? Deborah? Kim?
Aye.
Jolene? Lori?
Aye.
Mark? Aye. And I myself is an aye. 7-0 pass.
That motion carries. We're going to retreat back to one item, and if all of you could grab your calendars quickly. Lori,
Yeah.
after all, is not available.
I am not, I have a work commitment that's going to prevent me from joining you on Friday morning.
Okay.
So I thought
Okay.
if we could take care of it tonight, if there's another board member.
Yep, I'm going to take a quick
I'd
peek.
appreciate
unless-
For the coffee, did you
Yeah.
say?
Yes, correct.
And that's this Friday.
This Friday.
This Friday at 8:30 to 9:30. Again, it doesn't require a board member there, but I offer up it as an opportunity. Obviously, there cannot be more than
You around?
3
You can
board
do it?
members there.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right. And if either Deborah or Elizabeth cannot, it does appear as though I'm around, and I'm happy to fill in if you can't. All right?
Okay.
Good.
Thanks, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That takes care of everything. I will move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor with an aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Good meeting tonight. Lori Volz, thank you very much for that clarity on the levy. Thanks.